Okay, it's 7 o'clock. First order of business this evening is a public hearing on ordinance number 367. I would call a public hearing to order, and this is for ordinance 367, which is a revision of ordinance 170, housing enforcement. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak either for or against the adoption of this ordinance? Hearing no one, that concludes the business before the public hearing, and I'll declare the public hearing meeting adjourned and call to order a regular meeting of the City Council of the City of Buckhannon, and ask if you will join me in a moment of silence, please. Thank you. We'll respect the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Is he not coming?
He's in Newland. He's on the road, I guess.
Do you think he'll be here?
Probably not.
Then we're going to do this to you, right?
Whatever you want to
We
do.
have the Elizabeth J. Binky Poundstone Scholarship Award, and I like to read this. Whereas Elizabeth J. Binky Poundstone served the City of Buckhannon for 37 years in several capacities, including as a member of City Council, longtime City Recorder and Treasurer, and Mayor. And whereas Ms. Poundstone died while serving as our city's mayor on September 7th, 2000, leaving a rich and selfless legacy of devoted public service to our city and further to the youth of our Buckhannon-Upshur community. And whereas Mrs. Poundstone's family in 2008 proposed to the City Council that a family-funded scholarship be established with $500 to be awarded in August of each year in memory of Mrs. Poundstone to deserving students seeking to attend college whose parent or other guardian or family member is or had been an employee of the City of Buckhannon, or which employee in their own right is seeking to further their own education through college attendance. And whereas the City Council considered and approved the Poundstone Family Scholarship proposal during its regularly convened meeting of July 3rd, 2008, agreeing to the city's participation in the annual scholarship application, review, and selection process. And whereas as a consequence of that process that included consideration of very well qualified applicants, the Review and Selection Committee has determined that the fifth recipient of the annual Elizabeth J. Binky Poundstone Memorial Scholarship shall be Luke Brockelman of Buckhannon, being it the son of dedicated city employee and director of our city's Stockard Youth Center, Deborah Brockelman. And whereas the Poundstone family and the entire City of Buckhannon family desire to recognize Luke Brockelman and wish him the very best as he commences his studies this fall toward a bachelor's degree in engineering at Fairmont State University. Now therefore, I, Kenneth T. Davidson, Mayor of the City of Buckhannon, pursuant to the power and authority duly vested in me, do hereby proclaim the fifth recipient of the annual Elizabeth J. Binky Poundstone Memorial Scholarship to be Luke Brockelman. Mr. Brockelman shall be recognized in perpetuity as a recipient of this prestigious award through the inscription of his name upon a placard to be displayed in the main foyer of Buckhannon City Hall, along with all past and future Poundstone Memorial Scholarship recipients, given under my hand and official seal of the City of Buckhannon this 16th day of August 2012. Deborah, will you meet me up there? And since Luke seems to be busy, I will make this presentation to his mother, Deborah Brockelman, and in absentia, let's give Luke a real big round of applause. Gotta say, I stopped in at the pro shop at Snowshoe on Tuesday morning, and Jane Poundstone was there, and she has her hair cropped short and blonde, and she just looks like Binky all over again. I'm telling you, just looked like her. Thought I'd seen a ghost there for a while. Department reports. No, one more. Dennis Cordes would like to address council.
Thank you, Your Honor. I appreciate this time to address City Council and the viewers out there and the public. And let me tell a little bit. I wrote a short speech. Let me read it. I was an auto mechanic for about 30 years. I have been drawing a service-connected disability rating and check since 1973. After I graduated from college in 1976, I stayed in the field of auto mechanics. Right after I got married for the second time in 1981, we moved to Florida. In 1991, we lost a new house because of VA cutbacks. We had to move back to my old house in Detroit, so we kicked the tenants out and returned. The house was a disaster. At that time, I had no job and our income was only $262 a month. This was all that was left on my VA check. At that time, I told God that if He would take care of us, then I would do what I could for the poor and elderly of my block. I knew how to do a lot of home repair and yard work. I fixed up their homes and cut the yards for whatever they wanted to pay me for my labor. Sometimes I worked for free. And through God, the VA returned me to my latest VA rating with back pay. In 1993, we sold the house and escaped to Buckhannon. My agreement with God was still in force, so I did the same kind of work here that I'd been doing in Detroit. I was burned out as an auto mechanic and I took up an interest in video work. One day on short notice, I was asked to tape the VFW awards ceremony for Channel 3. They liked it so much that I was asked to do more. At that time, they paid me $10 per event. In July of 1993, I started the company known as Mountain State Video Imaging. A co-worker at Channel 3 was my technician, and I wanted to give him the company after I got it up and running. About 2 years later, I turned the company over to him. Now I work for him. I have been a volunteer since I started the company. I record county commission, city council, the entire veterans events, some school board meetings, a lot of strawberry festival events, and I host some of the car shows and more. All of this has been free to the community and viewing public because you are already paying me in the form of my VA check. You could say that I'm your tax dollars at work. I'm getting old and tired. It is with regret that I announce my retirement as of January 2nd, 2013. I am giving this long notice so maybe another person will volunteer soon. We at Mountain State Video Imaging would like to hire a replacement for me, but we dare not, as long as Obamacare is looming over our heads. I want to thank everybody for making me feel welcome and useful here. I only regret that my only sister will not change her mind about me. She knows all that I do here, and now I am helping to raise my 2.5-year-old step-grandson. My sister thinks of me as a burden on the taxpayer because I accept my VA check. If any of you know of a person that wants to take my place, we will train them. They can call the TV station at 304-472-0795 and leave a message. They may also call me at home at 304-472-1104. Also, if anybody or business wants to sponsor any of these programs, it would help to ensure that they get recorded in the future. Please call the TV station to sponsor any program. Thank you for letting me use this time. Since I wrote that short speech, my friend Rick Edwards here has volunteered to do some of the work, but he's not going to be able to do all of it. So we're still counting on some volunteers from the community to step in and do what I can. Rick and I have worked together before for Channel 3. We have co-hosted the Antique Car Parade for the last 2 years in a row. And he's good to work with. He'll be a good cameraman for you. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you, Dennis.
Do y'all have anything you wanted to bring up?
No.
Okay.
Thank you.
Department board reports. Michael Doss.
So you have in front of you the revenue and expense report summary for the fiscal year 2012-13, ending July 1st. You'll notice in your year-to-date for July, we have brought in revenue of $330,776. $2,258.69. The very last page, you'll see our expenditures. Our total expenditures for the month were $284,518.73, which is a positive difference of $46,257.96. Again, this is a condensed summary report. If anyone would like a detailed line or detailed department report, as always, just feel free to contact me and I'll be happy to provide that to you. In other business, I do want to mention that I'm having some preliminary discussions with Vince Collins. He is an attorney with Steptoe & Johnson. Some of you on council may be familiar with him. This is in regards to securing bond counsel, pursuing the financing of our conference center at the West Virginia National Guard Armory. I'm hoping to have more information to follow as this process to fund this project intensifies. It will be a long process in working with this, but I started those discussions with Vince and we'll be working hopefully with him in the future. The next item is I'm meeting tomorrow actually with an Andrew Allen. He's a representative from FEMA. We're going to meet to finalize the City of Buckhannon's request for public assistance and our expenditure reimbursement associated with the June 29th storm. Once we get final costs estimated and we present those to FEMA, I will be updating council with our cost estimates and what we're requesting for reimbursement. I think the last council meeting, a couple council meetings ago, you had a number. That number will change. That was just a rough estimate. We'll have hard numbers that we can present to FEMA. And again, I'll follow up with those once I get those numbers. That's all I have at this time.
Questions for Michael? Matt Gregory, Chief of Police.
Good evening. I have a number of things to update council on tonight. The police department's been pretty busy over the last few weeks. First thing I would like to address, you notice there's a couple of officers here in the back, and I've always been of the opinion that I like to recognize good work when good work's been done. And that's certainly why I asked Patrolman First Class Kaner and Courtney to be here tonight. They were instrumental in a major drug arrest over the last several months, which came to fruition with a guilty verdict in federal court. So it was a major case involving quite a substantial amount of cocaine that they were trying to bring into our community. So if I could, I'd just like to call these gentlemen forward and recognize them for their efforts. And I'll read into record the commendation that I'm awarding them. This is to Patrolman First Class Nick Kaner and Patrolman First Class William Courtney from me dated today, and it's in reference to the Meritorious Police Duty Award. The police department has a number of awards that we recognize our officers for good work such as this, other situations which really go above and beyond their duties. The Meritorious Police Duty Award is one such award. If you are to look at how our awards are structured, we give three awards of distinction. The Meritorious Police Duty Award is one. The next step up from that is the Excellent Police Duty Award. And the next step up from that is the Medal of Valor, which is I make synonymous with the Congressional Medal of Honor, which is the highest award the military can give. Our Medal of Valor is the highest award that the police department can give. So this is where this particular award would fall within that structure. So the citation reads as follows. On October 5th, 2011, acting on a tip developed by Patrolman First Class Courtney, Patrolman First Class Kaner initiated a traffic stop of Winston Irons on Buckhannon Crossroads in Buckhannon, West Virginia. After thorough investigation by both Patrolman First Class Kaner and Patrolman First Class Courtney, 3.6 ounces of cocaine and approximately 27.3 grams of marijuana was recovered in addition to $7,569.25 in cash. After Winston Irons was arrested for possession with the intent to distribute a controlled substance, Patrolman First Class Kaner and Patrolman First Class Courtney continued to investigate and diligently follow up leads for this case, working with both state and federal prosecutors as well as investigators from other law enforcement agencies. Ultimately, Winston Irons was convicted by a jury in federal court in July 2012 on these charges. Through their actions and diligence, both Patrolman First Class Kaner and Patrolman First Class Courtney exhibited a valuable police service, demonstrating special faithfulness, attention to duty, and perseverance over an extended period of time, and are therefore awarded the Meritorious Police Duty Award. I have their citations, which I'll present to them tonight. The awards have to be ordered. They're medals that are worn above our nameplates. They are on order, and these gentlemen will receive those once they come in. So I'll recognize them both for your good work. Okay, the other things I have, again, it's quite varied because the police department's been pretty busy over the last few weeks. Seems like we've been just about everywhere. As many of you are familiar with, we had National Night Out last Tuesday. Very well attended. It was held at the high school pool. This was the second year that we've had it at this location. And we had several hundred people in attendance. It was really, truly a community effort. We had a lot of organizations, a lot of individuals, a lot of businesses really donate their money, donate products to be given away as door prizes. And as the community truly came together, it allowed us to make this a free event. The pool was open for free swimming, the door prizes. The only thing folks had to pay for was if they elected to get something to eat. They were selling food for a small price at that location. But other than that, everything else was free, including the entertainment. So I had recently released a thank you letter to the Record Delta, recognizing all that took part in this. The list is too long for me to read into the record tonight, but I'll just allude to the letter that I wrote to the Record Delta and just recognize the great effort that came together with this community to make this possible. That being said, another collaborative effort that we're preparing to undertake this weekend, and the National Night Out was, we did this in partnership with UCare. Many of you are familiar with that group that's been together for a number of years now that focuses on providing safe alternatives, good activities for our youth, to steer them away from underage drinking and drug usage. So UCare was our partner and has been our partner in a number of events, including National Night Out, and will be so this weekend coming up for the final pool party that will be held for high school students. It's the back to school party, and we will certainly have an officer on hand for this event, and he'll have some demonstrations to, he usually takes the fatal vision goggles to demonstrate intoxication and the harmful effects of that to students, and just to be a presence there to get to know the kids one-on-one. That's been one of the more well-received aspects of these pool parties, is to have some of our officers there to really get to know the kids. So we'll be on hand for that. It'll be this Saturday at the high school pool from 8 to 11. And as I said, this was the back to school party. As everybody is aware, back to school is this coming Thursday. We will be diligent as school comes back in the morning and afternoon times, watching out for our youngsters getting off of and getting on the buses. I would just like to reach out, if I could, through the media, just to remind folks that back to school is coming up on us next Thursday, and to please drive safe and to watch out for the little ones. A lot of times, I think back to my own kids, just getting started out. You know, this is the first time for a lot of kids out there, and They may not know exactly how to get on and off the school bus. I know mine didn't. When he first started out, he went, instead of in front of the bus, he went behind it at one time. So we had a discussion on how to properly get on and off the bus. So I just reach out to folks out there in the motoring public just to be aware there's going to be some youngsters out there. Take it slow, be safe, and watch out for them. Let's keep everybody safe this school year. Along with back to school, this weekend is also the back to school time for the college. College gets back in session next week, but they have move-in starting Saturday. And so we've worked with the street departments and Wesleyan Security to help facilitate the move-in process. I know it's always a hectic time to get folks and their families to where they need to be, and certainly getting the cars unloaded and getting in the dorms. So we've worked with security and the street department to make Meade Street a one-way street. Meade Street will be one way from College to Camden Avenue on both Saturday and Sunday, and this is just to help facilitate the flow of traffic and get folks unloaded and to where they're supposed to be at the college more efficiently. While this is going on through the day on Saturday, Westland is going to have what's known as the Bobcat Fair. You may be very familiar with this, certainly with businesses. This is an opportunity for local businesses particularly, but then local organizations to have displays and tables at the college to let the incoming freshmen and new students know what Buckhannon has to offer. This year we've actually acted upon an invitation extended to us from the college and have elected to set up a table at the Bobcat Fair. So we'll have an officer on hand at the Bobcat Fair. We have some displays and some information that we'll have on behalf of the department. He'll be on hand to answer any questions students may have, or parents, or any other interested individual. We will be attending, speaking of the college, once things get underway here in the next couple of weeks. As you know, last year we partnered with their community outreach. I think it's the, with this John, it's the Office for Community Engagement. Okay, we partnered with them last year to take on a service scholar volunteer. Part of their requirements with their scholarships is that they have to volunteer. These various students have to volunteer with different organizations in the community. And it just so worked out through this partnership, we had a young lady who volunteered with the city police department. She was very instrumental in helping us reorganize and prepare the Citizens Police Academy that we had just this past spring. So we're going to continue this partnership. I've had meetings with Leanne Brown here this summer to continue this partnership, and we do anticipate attending this fair to get to know prospective volunteers and students under this program. I believe it's at the end of August. The date escapes me off the top of my head, but it's the end of August. We will be attending this, and do anticipate bringing on at least a volunteer, if not a couple, for some projects that we have in the works for the police department. So we do anticipate doing that. We also anticipate extending our internship opportunities to the criminal justice department, just as we have over several years running now. We've had a very good working relationship with the Wesleyan's criminal justice department, and it's worked out really well for us because the last couple of officers we hired were both interns with the police department. So I think it's a win-win situation. So we anticipate this to continue as well. In the education realm, moving away from the college just a little bit, we are partners in education with Upshur County Head Start. As you recall, they were the ones that named our Safety Frog folks. So this partnership in education has been about 2 years running now, and each fall, if you will, at the beginning of the school year, we provide training. They have to have required training for their faculty and staff for Head Start through the county. And this year we're going to have a couple different blocks on September 5th and September 6th, focusing on highway safety and substance abuse. So we will be providing this training for Head Start relative to our partnership in education. And I think that's it. That's all I have tonight, unless there are questions.
Questions for Matt?
I have a question about vehicles. Do you ever impound or keep vehicles that are involved in drug busts?
Yes, we do. It just depends on the circumstances. We will, if it's a piece of evidence, if the vehicle itself is a piece of evidence, we will take it into custody and hold it until the prosecutor feels that we don't need it anymore. In terms of seizing the vehicle, that's a little more, I guess, a little more technical. We would hold on to it if we had an interest in seizing it. First of all, we'd have to prove that it was used in the commission of that crime, i.e. either using it to transport narcotics. If we're able to prove that or to establish that first and foremost, then the next step is a lengthy process through circuit court to file for asset forfeiture. And there's a lot of criteria that you have to meet to do that. And a lot of times, just depending on the vehicle, we figure that it's worth, as far as taking the vehicle, it's more of a hassle to go through the asset forfeiture than take the vehicle, because they're not the greatest vehicles. Usually the ones that are really nice, the person that we arrested didn't own the vehicle, so we can't take it. That's my luck. So we can't take it at that point.
I've seen vehicles, I saw a Cadillac pass me once that had a sign on the side of it said this vehicle confiscated from a drug dealer, and it had all the lights and everything on it, and I just thought it was pretty good publicity.
Oh yeah, certainly. I know a number of agencies will seize a vehicle, the real sporty type vehicles usually, and will make it part of their community outreach campaign. I know it's part of dinner programs and other anti-drug programs, but no, we haven't been that lucky yet. But believe me, we would seize that opportunity if given it.
Anybody else? Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
Says city engineer, I'm going to ask Jay Holland. If you have any report you want to make on anything?
Wasn't expecting to, but just an update, I guess, on Ritchie Street, Tucker Street, building removal. I had a meeting today with the Bureau for Public Health regarding the finalization of that. All the paperwork is in effect. 10 days from now, if everything would stay on track, they would be given a notice to proceed. My meeting today was to see if we could get a waiver on that 10-day and start tomorrow with school starting on Thursday. The amount of asbestos that needs to be abated before the building can be raised is not a whole lot, in that we think the contractor believes that he can have that building abated and raised, i.e. brought to the ground prior to school starting on Thursday. And that was the reason I went to Charleston to try to get that waived today. I keep checking my phone to see if I could get an answer, because I met with the head of the DEP's air quality control and Herb Hillary, and they're going to talk amongst each other, amongst themselves. One of them concurs that all the paperwork is filed, the licenses are in place, the fees have been paid. There would be no reason not to grant that. Mr. Clemens drafted a letter/email to them today stating our safety concerns as far as school starting up and having that down on the ground. That added a little bit of weight, and Mr. Hillary has stated that he sees no reason why the 10-day waiver can't be granted, but his counterpart on the DEP side was not in, so I talked with his boss. They are going to talk tonight or first thing tomorrow morning, and I hope before noon to have an answer that I can tell the contractor that he's okay to proceed. That would be the ideal, and that way the building could be down before school starts, but if not, you know, before Labor Day. That's my brief update.
Okay. Thank you, Jay. Now Sam Ludlow, city engineer, and it's not Sam unless he's changed his hair a bit. Looks like Tim, or he's been eating a little better.
Sam's not here, he's in Charleston at stormwater, DEP stormwater school. But the first three things that I have are related to our permits. Our NPDES permit, we are appealing. We were supposed to have a hearing this month, and our attorney recommended an extension, and we were granted that extension. I think it's in October and November when we'll be dealing with that. Our long-term control plan and our combined sewer overflows, we need to get a handle on that as part of our permit. We're looking to try to put a team together to go around checking roof drains. We need to get extraneous water out of the sewer systems, and it's becoming a very important issue that we need to devote more time and energy to. We're working with Tarrant Public Service District, trying to get them to realize the severity of this permit, and we're trying to find if they have extraneous flow that we can get out of the sewer systems. So our permitting is getting stringent, and we're working hard on that. We're revising our sewer tap applications only because we want a better opportunity to inspect and see what people are doing as far as how they're constructing the sewer, and we wanted to get this all mapped, and so we revised that, and that'll happen immediately. We did have a DEP inspection, compliance inspection. Verbally, it was very, very good, but they haven't given us the written one back yet. But if it's anything close to what they said when they left, we're in good shape. We finished East Main Street. We redid the sewers on East Main Street in preparation for the sidewalk project. That's complete. Our next major job is going to be, we're going to redo all the collection system up on Mark Avenue. That's our next main job, and we tie up a few loose ends. One of those loose ends is we know we have a storm drain problem on Randolph Street that we're getting right-of-ways and getting ready to address. It's a short job. We're going to fix that before we go to Mark Avenue. Right now we're working on a force main project where the force main is failing, which is pretty serious. 18-inch force main failing, and we're replacing it. Hope to finish that up tomorrow. The belt press is complete and performing very well, meeting all expectations. We hired a new person. He's been here about a month. We're very happy with our new employee. Seems to be doing very well. And we have one employee going to Ripley next week to get his Class 3 operator's license for the plant. That's all I have.
Question for Tim.
Tim, I'd like to ask you to just spend just another minute or two on your idea of roof drains. Could you explain to folks why, what it means that your roof drain should not go into your sanitary sewer lines, and what problem it causes you guys?
First of all, any water that ends up the sewer plant has to be treated. So if anybody's putting extra water into the sewer, it comes to the sewer plant, it has to be treated. And I doubt if there's anybody who lives in Buckhannon that hasn't seen manholes overflowing in different parts of town, and that's part of the issue. And DEP is pretty strict that this all needs to stop. And DEP would rather us build bigger plants and build holding tanks and spend lots of money for things that we don't think are the best way to spend the money for our customers. I think we would rather build new sewers and not build bigger plants. And just because our sewers are bad, we don't need to build a bigger plant to do that. Another big issue with roof drains being in the sewer that people ought to be aware of is that if their sewer has a problem and it's pouring down the rain, if your sewer has a problem and you don't have your downspouts in, all you have to do is quit using water and you're not going to get flooded. If your roof drains are in the sewer and your sewer plugs up and you have a basement, there's a good chance you're going to need a pump. And you're just going to watch your basement fill up with water. So it's not only important to the city. I've seen this issue happen several times where people get flooded And it's because their roof drains are in the sewer.
That's real clean water in the basement too, right?
That's real clean water. We'll be glad to have that.
Thank you.
Yes,
I need to ask a question.
yes,
The new sidewalks that will be going in down near the college,
yes.
I know that they're in front of Mr. Rupp's house, that the water, when it rains hard at all, the water is pretty high. Takes a while to go down, and people actually have to move their vehicles. Is that going to be addressed before the new sidewalks go in?
I don't know of any storm drain projects that are,
I've not had a chance to talk with Sam, or, he's not given any indication of making improvements in that area. Now, if Mr. Rupp or some of the areas that have low curbs, that are close to the road elevation, those will all be replaced with 6-inch curbs. Even though that won't help any standing water on the streets, it will help keep the water off of the yards and out of them. All the new sidewalks will have 6-inch high curbs, and 5-foot wide sidewalks. But as far as storm issues, I've not had anybody call me. Now, Sam may be aware, but
I mentioned that to Sam a couple years ago, and
yeah.
nothing's been done, but I know that it gets backed up in there. I didn't know if those need cleaned out before the sidewalks go in, or what.
well, I know the storm
Mr.
drain
Rupp had asked me.
in that area is really old, and I think that it is not in the most desirable location. I think it might run between houses or even under houses, and that would be an extensive project.
Similar to Richie.
Yeah, something similar to Ritchie. Storm drains are an issue that we keep working on all the time as well. But we can look into that issue. I have seen water problems down there before.
I just wondered if maybe the drain itself is full of stuff or whatever.
We can take a look at that.
Okay, thank you.
Tim, what's the age of that 18-inch force main that has failed? Is that an old
The
service
plant's
line?
been there since it was built, when the plant was built.
50,
Oh no, the plant wasn't, it was in the
67.
80,
80s.
85.
86, 87.
86, 87, yeah.
This is 18-inch ductile iron pipe that is just,
Rotted.
and I think it's from the gas in the sewer.
How much,
Hydrogen sulfide.
is there any estimate of how much more of that? Lots of
It's
it?
scary. We really don't know, and it's costing $25 a foot for the pipe to replace, and it's something else that we think that we're going to get to some good pipe. We're getting closer to some good pipe, but that's something else we need to do, is walk the whole force main and start looking at that. But that would be major.
That's miles.
That would be
of that
major
force main, right?
money right there.
So right now, it's fix it as it fails. And that's it,
Yes, yes, and we're getting more signs that it's failing. It is blowing out in a couple of places.
Anybody else? Thank you, Tim. It's the Tom and Kelly show. Whose turn is it? Tom?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Just to briefly touch on what Michael had reported earlier about the FEMA reimbursements. Today, our department, pending approval from the FEMA representative, completed with Michael the department's portion of the FEMA reimbursement application. Moving on from that, East Main Street project, the water department has completed its part of moving the meter barrels out of the sidewalk. I believe there was one hydrant, maybe two, that had to be moved back. And our hydrant, one hydrant. So anyway, that project, as far as the water department is concerned, is complete. I just got back yesterday from a 4.5-day water conference at Snowshoe. The mayor, Mr. Holland, and Kelly and a couple of his men attended. It's a training technical conference that offers educational opportunities for water plant operators, distribution folks, gives them some classroom study on technical issues, brings them up to date on current or proposed regulations, and it also has a real good barbecue on Sunday afternoon. We completed that 4.5-day conference and are appreciative of the opportunity to get to attend those. Kelly had a new customer service hire July the 30th. As you know, there was some shifting of some employees, so he was able to fill that vacancy and that void, and that person's now in training. Kelly reports he's doing a real good job. Thinks he's going to work out very well. As I talked about West Virginia Rural Water, they will be presenting another training opportunity. This time it will be at our facility on Wood Street in early September. They usually come to our facility twice a year, once in the spring and the fall. It allows us to have folks locally that we don't have to try to give up some work time or travel time, and they get to come here and set up their training material and actually give us and folks from surrounding counties participate in that. The water department will be hosting that. We do annually, or every year. And the last thing I would bring to the council is the storm of June 30th. The water department fared actually, I would use the word excellent. We had one minor issue with a pump station we had to get a generator for. But other than that, we're fully recovered. There was really no major issues in our department. But if you'll recall what I would call the electrical storm of last Thursday, we did take some pretty serious electrical hits at the plant in a tank site up Brushy Fork Road, Deer Creek. The tank site telemetry got taken out. We got some telemetry at the water plant that was damaged, and we have a filter control panel, 2 of them, electronically operated. They took a surge of power, and our chlorine monitor, which is a hazardous material, was also affected. We were able to repair it immediately, but some of the others took a few days to get a technician in from out of town. But all that is back up and running, and we're back in good shape. And that's all I have to report now.
Question for Tom. Thank you, Tom. Deborah Brockman, Stockford. Yes, sir.
Just to update council on a few things. Our summer camp will be ending tomorrow. We've had approximately 50 to 60 kids per day with that, and tomorrow's our last day. After school program will start back on Monday the 27th. All other programs are going fairly well. We have a couple new things that we're going to start in September, and you all have my newsletter. This is what's going out to all the children beginning of school as soon as it's approved by Mr. Lampman. But one of our newest programs is the Zumba Tonics, which is the kids Zumba, and it'll be fun to watch them do that. It'll be neat. We tried it a couple years ago in the summer, and it was pretty successful, but we didn't have an instructor. We have an instructor now. And everything else is continuing. We're going, and our basketball program, of course, will be starting in October. We're going to try to do a series of clinics before it starts. As Matt shared with you, our last Youth Care pool party is Saturday, and SYC staff chaperones that as well as some other volunteers. And the other pool parties throughout the summer have gone very well. The weather's cooperated, so we're very fortunate there. Our greenhouse, it's been in the works of being assembled for the past year or so. It's now assembled and ready to go. And we do have a grant that will help with that program of getting the kids to learn about seed to market and gardening. And that grant that we were awarded a couple weeks ago is the 5 Promises grant. And with that, we were awarded $5,000 to help with our programming at the youth center because we are a site of promise for children. And also, we received the biggest portion of the grant that was allowed. They gave away $7,000 and we got $5,000. So it's pretty awesome. Also, we are the new grant recipient from United Way. They will be granting us $1,000 a year, and that will also go towards our activities. and that will be a yearly thing. Also, the next thing that we have, that we're planning for is the Children's Festival, and that will be September the 15th, and we're planning for that to be a big deal. And you have my newsletter, and that's all I have.
Questions for Deborah? Thank you, Deborah. Rich Clemens, the zoning officer.
Just to mention for the minutes of this meeting, Zoning Board of Appeals met on Tuesday evening and granted 2 variances for 2 different businesses on Main Street for signs that exceeded the requirements of the zoning code. So that will be noted in the minutes for this meeting. That's all I have.
Question for Rich. Mr. McCauley.
Mayor, most of what I'll do tonight will be under your new business with an old ordinance and a new resolution, but there are some other updates too. You had your public hearing at the outset of the meeting, and Mr. Clemens has made a part of your minutes tonight the notice that appeared as a Class 2 legal advertisement in the Record Delta. The resolution that you acted upon last time with Sudden Lake has been mailed to Mr. Kellerman down in Charleston, so we'll await further word from them, but there's nothing else the city can do relative to the cable matters. I've started what might be Ordinance 368, unless you all bump something up ahead of that, what will be the framework for our electrical inspection ordinance that I gave you a memo about last time. I've not yet scheduled a meeting with Mr. Martini. I'll count on the mayor and Mr. Clemens to kind of head that up so that the 4 of us can sit down and come back to council in the next couple of meetings with that ordinance. Various property matters, continuing to try to finalize things with the Route 20 North annexation, helping Mr. Holland as he needs it here and there with the Brushy Fork project, but he's doing a great job. I told him one day not too long ago he could hang out his shingle any day with me. He, contrives language to insert in the rights of ways and sends it to me and says, is this okay? And I don't think I've said it's not okay yet. So I think Jay, in addition to engineering, would make a good lawyer. Help Sam a little bit with some rights of ways over in the Myrna, Gum, and Kempner Streets area. I think they are getting ready to do some emergency work over there in the Phillips property location. Trying to think what else I've got on my list here. The only other thing that I would mention is our colleague, Mr. Clemens, was honored today up at the college for 35 years of service up there, so it's, I guess there won't be a 36th year.
No, because I got to turn my keys in.
Done hung up, so that's all I have, unless you all have questions for me. Again, I've got more things coming up under your new business.
So he's officially retired.
Officially.
Okay. Any questions for Dave at this point? Now we'll move ahead. The consent agenda, which includes approval of minutes of the regular meeting August 2nd, building and wiring permits, payment of bills, and proceed with an RFP for codification of ordinances. Entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So,
And a second? Second. Motion made and seconded. Is there further discussion? All in favor signify so by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Brings us to strategic issues for discussion and vote. Ordinance 367, third and final reading. David?
Again, you've had your public hearing as is required under state code, preceded by the Class 2 legal advertisement. This is the third and final reading of ordinance number 367 of the City of Buckhannon. And ordinance 1, amending ordinance number 170 of the City of Buckhannon, that is Buckhannon's Housing Enforcement Ordinance. 2, adopting the statutory provisions of Chapter 8, Article 12, Section 16A of the West Virginia Code as amended, entitled Registration of Uninhabitable Property. And 3, adopting the statutory provisions of Chapter 8, Article 12, Section 16C of the West Virginia Code as amended, entitled Registration of Vacant Buildings, Registration Fees, Procedures for Administration and Enforcement. Again, this is the third reading. If you act upon this favorably this evening, this ordinance would be made effective on September 15, 2012. It is my recommendation that you now consider on third reading ordinance 367.
Entertain a motion to pass ordinance number 367 on third and final reading?
So moved.
Motion made. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is made and seconded. Is there any discussion at this time? If not, all in favor of the motion signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
I understood that Earl Smith was going to be here this evening to talk about the next item, but I will at least bring it up, and whether anybody else can speak to this or not. But there is an opportunity for a grant to handle or to help fund the recycling of certain electronics. And you have in your packet what they call covered electronic devices recycling. It's a grant which needs to be submitted by, I believe, the end of August. August 31st is the last date to submit it. And what we're looking for from the city is approval to go ahead and apply for this particular grant.
This resolution authorizing an application for the West Virginia DEP Covered Electronics Devices Grant. You have it in your packet, and it seems that it hereby authorizes Jerry Arnold to plan, budget, and apply for a grant. So I think it's in the first document necessary. Michael, you have a comment on
Yeah,
it?
there's no match for this in this grant. The amount is $6,657.98. Just to kind of to tickle your interest, this is would be a wrapping, semi-automatic wrapping machine. Basically, for a lot of the larger electronics that we have, you can set those on a pallet. This thing would wrap them up. They're easier to transport around than having all this loose equipment. It's something that we're seeing a lot more electronics and stuff going down at the transfer station, and this will assist in bounding those.
Entertain a motion to adopt resolution number 2012-09.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any other discussion or question? Not all in favor, signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Requires my signature or yours, one, right?
Right, that's all.
Resolution number 2012-10, the Upshur County Convention and Visitors Bureau as the official operating organization of the conference center. It's a two-page document. You want to read it? You want me to?
I'll be happy to, Mayor. You can speak to the particulars, but this is all about the
Go ahead and read.
Readiness Center. And I know the city has recently, I think a meeting, or maybe 2 meetings ago, the council approved the mayor's letter to the Adjutant General with the Army National Guard, committing the city to as much as $850,000 in participation to realize the new Readiness Center, including a very large conference center. So we've now reached the point who's going to operate it, manage it, schedule events, promote use of the facility, that kind of thing. And I was directed to prepare this resolution by the council at the last meeting so that the Upshur County Convention and Visitors Bureau would be able to undertake those administrative tasks. Independent of this, and as is embodied in the resolution, recently you've read that the Upshur County CVB has contributed $100,000 of its own funds. So it's been very attentive to this project. This is resolution number 2012-10 of the Council of the City of Buckhannon, designating the Upshur County Convention and Visitors Bureau as the operation and management authority for the conference center to be located as part of the new Buckhannon Army National Guard Readiness Center. Whereas the federal government has designated the construction of the new Army National Guard Readiness Center in Buckhannon off of the Brushy Fork Road in Upshur County, with the first phase of the project's construction expected to commence during the fall of 2012 and to be completed approximately by the end of 2014. And whereas the City of Buckhannon, among other entities and organizations, including the Upshur County Convention and Visitors Bureau, hereinafter referred to as the UCCVB, has been partnering with the federal government to enhance the Readiness Center project through the addition of a community conference center to be housed within the Readiness Center, which conference center will serve the residents of the Buckhannon Upshur community in numerous respects, the City of Buckhannon having formally committed funding and in-kind contributions to the total Readiness Center project in the amount of approximately $850,000. And whereas upon completion of the conference center portion of the project, it shall be necessary for some entity or organization to, among other things, 1, oversee scheduling of events, 2, promote and market the conference center's use, and 3, monitor activities and events to be conducted at the new conference center while assuring compliance with Army National Guard rules and regulations. And whereas the Board of Directors of the UCCVB recently committed $100,000 of the UCCVB's own funds toward the project, and hence has established the UCCVB's own interest and commitment in realizing completion of the conference center. And whereas the City of Buckhannon, as the most substantial local funding contributor to the project and in general, and the conference center specifically, and in recognition of the substantial commitment made by the Upshur County Convention and Visitors Bureau to, and interest shown in the project, believes that the UCCVB should be the organization designated by the Buckhannon Upshur community to operate and manage the conference center. Now therefore be it resolved by the Council of the City of Buckhannon as follows. 1, that upon its Board of Directors specifically agreeing to undertake the tasks and responsibilities associated with the operation and management of the new conference center, that the Upshur County Convention and Visitors Bureau be hereby designated by the City of Buckhannon as the operation and management entity of the new conference center, and further that the UCCVB be authorized and empowered to negotiate the specific terms and provisions of their operational and management oversight of the new conference center directly with the Army National Guard or such other reasonable or appropriate federal authorities. 2, that the council hereby authorizes Mayor Kenneth Davidson to execute any agreements on the city's behalf, together with any and all other reasonable and appropriate documents to facilitate the purposes hereof. And 3, that this resolution or a copy thereof may be appended to and made a part of any and all other formal contracts, agreements, correspondence, and or other documentation respecting the matters described and set forth herein, and further to evidence the formal approval thereof by the Council of the City of Buckhannon. It's my recommendation that you consider now City Resolution 2012-10.
Entertain a motion to pass, adopt resolution number 2012-10 of the City Council. So, motion made. Is there a second? And a second. Any discussion?
Mayor, I have one comment, just a point of clarification. The City of Buckhannon and the Building Commission will actually be looking at funding $750,000. For the point of this resolution, it doesn't make. I just wanted to make sure that that was understood. We'll be getting $100,000 from the CVB for $850. But
yes, I understand.
Okay.
I have just one comment in saying that the UCCVB has recently applied for accreditation, and I believe that they've received that accreditation. And in that it says that they've met certain standards of auditing, certain standards of staffing and financing, etc. So I think as an organization, no better equipped than our UCCVB to manage and look after the conference center on our behalf.
I agree. Call for a roll call vote, please.
Preston?
Yes.
Pugh?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Waltz?
Yes.
Kapari?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Mayor?
Absolutely.
I'll have you sign the resolution then. Motion carries.
Motion carries. Brings us to the appointment of an audit procurement committee. And since the charter says that the mayor appoints the committees, Michael Doss, Andy Jenkins, Rich Clemens, and myself will serve on that audit procurement committee. And we'll proceed, and that'll be reported back to you. Comments and announcements. Michael, you have anything further?
Not at this time.
Dave Thomas?
Nothing.
Nothing? Pam?
I have nothing.
John?
I just remind that with that move-in going on at the college, there'll be 500 students and their families coming to town. They'll generally be going the wrong way, crazy and/or nervous. So just do what we can to try to help everybody out. And like I said, one of the comments we always get about why students choose West Virginia West End are the great people that live here. And so we appreciate that. And please keep that up this weekend.
Great. Rich?
Two things briefly. One is attended last week the West Virginia Municipal League. Went to a number of sessions in there. Also attended the annual meeting of the clerks and recorders of the state of West Virginia. They discuss current issues, and one of the things we received was a document that they've been working on for at least a decade or more. And that is a retention manual for all the paperwork and documents held by the municipalities. It's not finalized yet, but it's very, very close to being finalized, and will help us a great deal in terms of trying to clean out the basement, some of the old records that we have. Also, it noted that the August 2012 edition of the city's newsletter is probably maybe in the mail, or at least will be very shortly. So residents can look at that. We've got some updates as far as sewer issue is concerned, and some of the other departments, and I'm sure a good, exciting reading in there for everybody. But trying to share the information and be sure you're up to date. That's all I have.
Ron?
Have a great time in school, kids.
We did.
Yeah.
Scott?
One last comment, picking up where Matt left off with Officer Courtney and Officer Kaner. He said they operated and started an investigation on a tip. Tips from the public are extremely important. Sometimes the most trivial, seemingly innocent tip can be the key that will bring an investigation to the next step and actually lead to a conviction. So I urge folks who might know something, see something, smell something, or feel something that's just not quite right. There's a number of avenues that you can use to get that information to our police force. Phone call, email, the anonymous tip line number is?
Tip line is 473-1001, or on our website that we are able to receive anonymous tips submitted to us through our contact us page on our website, buckhanonpolice.com.
But please, folks, step forward. We have lots of issues with our youth, and drugs seems to be really a hot topic right now. And please step forward with those tips.
And it can save lives, too.
It can save lives, and the small tip can mean a big thing. Thanks.
Okay, that brings us to an executive session for West Virginia Code 698-4 for the personnel discussion. I'd entertain a motion to that effect.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Not all in favor signify so by saying aye.
Aye.